Live we are.
Live we are, I think.
We are
I'm
live.
going to check, but you go ahead and you kick us off today.
I'll kick us off. You are the American. Americans always have this amazing way of kind of starting the news and so on. So now you are putting a Finnish person, the most enthusiastic uh, country in the whole world, to start the thing. But that's fine. Maybe that's a good introduction to a topic which I can think when it comes to what's happening in the world. Those who know or don't know, it is a really good topic, how to be at our best in stressful situations. And I have some thoughts about that. But what about you? What kind of thoughts might you, Stacey, have? And by the way, welcome everybody. I guess that's part of the deal, is to welcome everyone.
That's part of the deal. Welcome everyone who is with us. We are live. We had a couple little glitches, but it looks like we're rolling good today. Yeah. So if you're here, if you're joining us, drop us a comment. We want to say hello to you this morning or afternoon, wherever you are coming in from. You're Finnish, but you also are in the Czech Republic,
Yes, my
right?
wife is Czech. That's the story why I moved here.
Right, right. It's interesting. I've never put this together. And I know this is a little off topic, but I'm going to go here anyways. As an educator, there's this thing in the education system in the United States that Finland has the perfect education system. So there's this whole, if you talk to anybody who really cares about public education,
Mm.
they will talk about Finland and how Finland has the most amazing, best education system in the world.
Well, that's what I've read many times. Finland is usually on the top when it comes to the happiness index and all those things. And well, I guess that's how it is. Of course, difficult for me to compare and say, because that's the system that I went through. So of course I lived a little bit outside of Finland, so I can see what are really great things there. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know it's praised often for the education system.
that's right. So today, the topic that we're going to talk about, and why I kind of wanted to talk through this topic today. We've got Stella and Shanna. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you jumping in, and we're here to have a conversation, but we want to hear from you as well. So please feel free to jump in the comments and contribute, ask questions. The topic today is around how to maintain our cool. What do we do in stressful situations? And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I had a interview last week,
Mm.
and a phone interview with someone,
Mhm.
and I was nervous, and I had prepared a little bit, but I could tell I wasn't fully me. I wasn't, as like right now I'm probably, a 10 out of 10 on a comfort level. Right? And so in that situation, I was maybe, a 7, 6 out of 10. And
Mhm.
afterwards, I kind of was like, oh, did I bomb it? Did I this? Did I that? I didn't say this. I was nervous about this. And so I really wanted to take a moment today to talk through what happens to our bodies. How can we
Mm.
prepare for even if it's maybe not an interview, a performance, a project, a presentation of some sort, and really kind of get your take on how can we best prepare ourselves and be present in the moment and really show
Mhm.
up fully who we are.
Yes, you already mentioned two things exactly: the body aspect of it, and how can we maintain our cool, because it has to do with our thinking. Our thinking has to do with our performance, and our performance has to do a lot with our life. And before going more into it, anybody listening, hearing this, watching this, please feel free to share that 45 minutes from now, what would you want to have more of understanding, clarity on? Do you have some things you're working on, especially around how to handle stressful, difficult situations? So that, because me and Stacey probably have a lot of things we can share, and that means that since we don't see you, we don't have that feedback of like what's the right direction. So when you share and ask us something, what you would want, that gives us a lot of guidance. And I think in my experience with myself and with clients and with leading teams at workplace, I think there's three main things that are really useful to know. Well, first thing is that our capacity to go into risky or stressful or tense pressure filled situation has huge impact on our life, because those are the things that open new possibilities, and they affect our self-trust, because when we go into a situation like that, we start trusting ourselves more, and we learn new things, gain new opportunities. And we don't always do that. We don't always go into the possibility. We don't take the challenge. We might be avoiding even a promotion at work because maybe I'll need to do public speaking or something. And then comes this temptation to go for the safety. The thing is that the safety is a lot more riskier than taking the risk, because life changes so fast and there's so many things that are demanded from us, not by other people, but just the fact that life changes and so on. And if we avoid risky situations because we are afraid how we handle stress, well, life becomes actually more difficult. So that's kind of the one of the three things that I wish to be giving. And you probably have similar things, Stacey, as we talk. And the second thing is that there's kind of three levels how to keep our cool, if we can say it like that. First one is, how can we dig ourselves up back when we fell? What about when all of a sudden intense situation comes? How do I remain on top in the situation? And the best would be how to stay above the situation before they even hit us. And I think the third thing that I would wish to be sharing with everybody listening is that, well, how does stress actually function on the level of brain, body, and mind, and why is it pretty useful to understand how that functions? And it's even what I call negative motivation, is when we know how it functions negatively and positively, we have a really good motivation to not take it too, how would I say, well, not to take it too lightly that, I'm having a little bit of stress. And those are the three main things I would wish to be sharing today.
Yeah. And I would add to that, understanding the physiological and psychological and emotional levels of what's happening in our body is a really good point. I think for me, it's also the power of visualization. And it's something that I think we can explore here. I know you and I have spent a lot of time doing visualization, and I'm super visual. I was in my class yesterday, actually, and we were learning about how the brain works and how powerful our brains are when it comes to seeing ourselves. People talk about manifesting, right? But seeing ourselves in successful situations, and the power of our mind to actually move us in the direction that we hope to go. And so I think, I'd like to touch on that a little bit today too.
Yes. So shall we go now into that? Because definitely that especially relates to, that's the highest or best level how we can remain above stress, and not just remain above stress, but really be in a clear state of mind. And I think public speaking is a really good example of how we can prepare, because, okay, what are people usually when they have difficulties with public speaking? What's going on in their mind? Which, by the way, is a visualization. People might say visualization doesn't work for me, and they're imagining how they will freeze in front of others, and people will maybe laugh at them and so on. Well, that's the visualization. And
yes, I think that's important to know. When you are living, or when you're thinking about what can go wrong, or you are, you have that thought pattern, potentially that habitual thought pattern going in your mind that is potentially saying to you, like, I can't do that. I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to be scared. I'm going to mess up. Whatever those thoughts are, that is visualization. I think that's what I heard you just say. That is manifesting what you don't want.
Exactly, because our brain is not responsible. We are responsible for what we give to our brain. And if we imagine public speaking, I will freeze. That's what I imagine about my behavior. Then I will feel stress. That's what I imagine that I'll be feeling. What actually we are telling to our brain: public speaking, stressful, and I will freeze. And the brain is just taking it in as, okay, no problem, let's do that. And that's why what you were saying, like, let's say okay, maybe it's most easiest to use for me a very practical example from my own life years ago already. So I used to have difficulty in saying no in pressure situations, and I would go into the executive team meetings because I was part of executive team, and I often thought very different than the rest of the team, and then I would say yes to things actually that I didn't want to do, that really went against how to do things. And it felt terrible. It like felt self-betrayal. But in the moment, it always happened because I kind of started feeling stress, and then I just reacted with the old behavior. Let's get rid of stress by saying yes. But of course, it didn't work. And what I started doing back then, I didn't even know how this works, but I intuitively started doing. Next time there's a meeting, what do I want to actually do? Well, I want to be able to say what I really think. What do I need for that? I need to have stable mind and not react to it. All right. So I went through the worst case scenarios in my head. And then I imagined in the next meeting, when that situation comes, how do I actually want to feel? What will I do? I will breathe. This is how I feel. And this is how I will express myself. And that's exactly what I did next time. I was like, wow, that worked. But now I understand why it worked, because I told my brain that next time I will feel that feeling in that situation. This is the new behavior and this is how it will feel and what the brain will do. Oh, that's the new behavior in that situation and it will feel good. When the situation happens, the brain will be like, here's the program, do that. And that works for every situation we can imagine. I think it does sound like magic, but it really does work. And because the big mistake people make when they're trying to change something is that they only define what they don't want. And that is never going to work, because then when the thing that you don't want to happens, if we don't have a new behavior that we have thought about, the brain goes even more into freeze mode, because now you are aware that you're in a situation and you are having the usual reaction and you know that you don't want to react in that way, but the brain all of a sudden doesn't have any new behavior to move into, so it's even extra like confusing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that highlights for us this idea of how powerful we know our brains are powerful, right? I mean, the fact that you can have brain surgery awake and somebody can go in and work on your brain while you are conscious and it doesn't hurt or feel anything. There's no feeling there. I think it's just interesting
Yes.
if you think about that for a second. But when you were talking about how our brains work, and we know this to be true, I like to think of like a metaphor, and it's almost like visualization. You think of a computer programmer. Computer programmer sits in, types in all the code, the HTML, the whatever, whatever all those lines of code are, and then hits enter. And when the coder hits enter, like everything happens, and the program does what it was told to do, right? It turns into, colors on the screen, or this live stream right now, whatever it is. And that's, I think, like what visualization is. We are telling our brain the code that we want it to do in the situation that we're imagining, or that's up and coming. So we're giving ourselves that program to tell our brains, because our brains will do what we tell it to do. Which is where we started. Kevin says, good point. What people do often is only define what they don't want. You need to give your brain the ability to alternatively focus on what you do want.
Exactly.
And thank you, Kevin. That's a great point. We appreciate anyone, jumping in comments, asking questions.
Yes.
But, certainly, why don't humans in general, why don't I, right, do this more, where I'm visualizing or taking that time?
That has to do with the stressful. By the way, Kevin, really good point, because not only that exactly happens, but it reminded me about the thing that when we go towards what we want, the brain does release all kinds of hormones that help us to actually go through pain. It gives us this resilience to go forward, and it even even blocks the negative effects of having too much adrenaline in the body. So that's what like one, because it's a reward system of the brain that we are moving towards something, while moving away from something doesn't affect the reward system of the brain. And what were you were Stacey asking about?
Why is it that we
Right. Yes.
why don't we do that? Why aren't we
Yes.
using this? What or maybe what are the
And
issues with it?
that's the exactly which has to do with those three things that we were now talking about: visualization as preparation, so that we don't fall under the stress reaction. And your question has to do with the stress reaction, because when we do fall under the stress reaction, what becomes the dominant part of it is the reptile and mammal brain. And our reptile and mammal brain, they pay only attention to how do I keep away from danger. And they are not, because they're functioning on a very basic level. I'm going to be eaten by a lion. Who the heck cares what I want? I just want to not be eaten by a lion. And sometimes people say, but we are not eaten by a lion. We are just like, I'm having a public speech. Like, that's not the same thing. Why does my body and mind brain react in the same way? Well, actually, we don't react, how would I say, having a public speech where we freeze and we feel that we lose our status is danger to our life. And why is that? Because we at the back of our mind starts having this escalation of, now people won't see me as competent. Maybe they will not like me. I will not get so many opportunities. What will then happen? I don't get the promotion. Maybe I will get demoted. I will have less money. How will that affect my status? I will probably get fired. Then I'll go home. I cannot provide for my family. I'll end up in the street. And that's when you work with people around their fears, almost always you end up into that at the root of it is that I'll be alone. And so that's why it's so useful to know how we function physiologically, because the moment where we notice that our awareness starts narrowing down around negative things, this should be alarm to us. Right now, I'm seeing the world through reptile and mammal brain. I'm not seeing the situation clearly. And then a simple, not easy thing is to, okay, I'm going to get back into my body. I'm going to breathe in here. And every cell in the body and every thought in the body is like, are you crazy? You are not going to start breathing nicely because you are going to be eaten.
Because the mammal and the reptilian brain, right? So if you think of somebody showed me this, and I love this analogy. If this is your brain, right? Here's your neocortex, and then you've got your brainstem, and right inside of here, you've got that mammalian brain and your reptilian brain.
Yes.
It is not safe for animals. Think about that. No animal is going to sit still in an open field with his eyes closed, breathing. There is nothing
when
that
there's
feels
danger
safe about that. And you know, when and I'm going to add this here for like a human experience. There have been times when I feel great today. We've done this. I don't know what show is this, our 8th or 9th show today. But at first I would be like, I'm nervous. My heart is, I'm stressed about, you know, going live here. Cause we could say this is public speaking, right? A live audience. And I'd look around and be like, but I am alone in my office and safe, and there's nobody here. Right. So I can't be harmed, but I'm reacting in such a way that feels like I'm under attack.
Well, the identity is, whenever we are publicly speaking, the identity is exposed to danger, because it's like, if we freeze, it affects our confidence, and it affects how we see ourselves. So in some way that is also dangerous, but still, of course, and you said something that we can tie into the body aspect of things, and into this, we can tie into this whole thing we've been talking about, is that your heart, just like my heart in a tense situation, it starts pumping a lot of blood, because the brain is telling to the body that, look, danger, prepare to run or fight. And the body starts pumping more blood into the extremities. That's why when people get scared, their shoulders go up because they're ready to fight or run, and that's why a lot of blood goes into the extremities. And that the price that is paid for that is that less oxygen and blood goes into the neocortex, which means that we lose our ability to think clearly. And that's why I think, as a side note, for leaders to stay above stress is so important, because when the neocortex is not functioning, we literally we don't really see people anymore. We see them either as functions that help us out of the situation, out of the stress, or that they're threat or they're obstacle to this obstacle of getting rid of this feeling. We cannot anymore connect people. We cannot solve problems. We cannot think long term when we are in stress. And on top of that, big reason why people in these days lack so much energy has to do with long-term stress, because during stress, adrenaline goes into the body. And if there's too much adrenaline, the body has to invest a lot of its resources to clean up the body. And while it's cleaning up the body, and while there's this fight or flight reaction, immune system is shut down. And while the body could be regenerating, recharging, building more energy, it's actually cleaning up. And if people have every day a lot of stress reactions, it becomes this cycle where we have so little energy that things more easily disturb us. We get more stress, and it's like then we can't get out of it. And yet the thing is that actually we can get out of it quite quickly.
Yes.
We can.
Yes, that is. But that is, I think you hit on a couple of things when we hear there's this sense that I'm under such intense stress. Exactly what you said. I'm releasing all this adrenaline into my body, and then my immune system is not able to function at the way it needs to, because it's going after all that cortisol that's released into my body. It's not helping increase my immunity to the other things, because it's fighting off the things that I've done to myself.
Yeah, immunity is for future, not for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm in this cycle, and we can get out of it. The thing is, and I know for myself, we think it's like, I'm changing my mind, and so I want to get out of it, and so I should be out of it. But it takes time. That adrenaline, that cortisol, those chemicals that are in our body, we have to allow ourselves time and space to be able to turn that ship around in a significant way. And that takes time and kindness and patience to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And going a little bit back when we were talking about that in the moment where we try to calm ourselves down, there's the two mistake. One of the mistakes is that we actually try to calm ourselves down by trying to get rid of the feeling itself. And then we are attacking even more, because what's going on in my mind if I'm stressed and I don't like the feeling and I'm trying to get rid of the stress? Like what am I actually thinking? It means that I'm thinking that there's a threat that needs to get rid of. So it just goes downward spiral. And if we can give us 20 seconds, that might feel like 20 hours, we will notice that if we breathe, and of course now somebody might think, but I'm on stage, like I cannot breathe there for minutes. Actually, we can just bring our awareness of our body. We can just straighten our body, because two things happen when we take control of our breathing and when we become conscious of our whole body, is that the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, which is responsible for recreation and recharging and relaxation, while the autonomous nervous system is responsible for stress reaction. And I guess the good thing is that those nervous systems cannot function at the same time. And the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in when we do something very consciously. That's why being in the present moment is so powerful, because the autonomous nervous system cannot kick in. And if we can do it, even just for 20 seconds, kind of gather ourselves, we will always start seeing a shift. Okay, things aren't so bad. I feel a bit better. And the main mistake to avoid here is to not try to get rid of the feeling. Exactly what you were saying is that to know that, okay, there are these chemicals in my body now. Just They can be there, they'll be out. Soon as we try to get rid of it, the mind again runs into the problem.
So let's get into practical,
Yes.
concrete steps. What can we do? So I've got, an interview, a presentation next week, and I've got, 5 days to prepare. So practical steps, right? I'm going to obviously do my homework, do my research. I'm going to make a plan, which is something that, I also want us to kind of hit on the idea of planning on a tactical level, right? There is something to be said for, a situation that is a planned situation that because there's lots of situations that are unexpected where we get into potentially a stressful or a hyper stressful situation. But this is planned. We know something is coming up. Where do we start? What are the steps we should take?
I think if you want to plan, the first step, if public speaking, I think is a really good example. Okay, I have finished my speech. Like, what's going on in the minds of the people who heard the speech?
So this
What
is
are
like
they thinking?
5 days before.
It's 5 days before. I already finished it. Like, what are they feeling? What are they thinking about my speech? What did I learn? Because that's already does a big thing. It shifts the attention from our performance into other people. That's already it. All of us, when we are stressed, our attention is technically moved towards ourselves. But then when we think of others, our awareness is more moving outside, and that gives us the actual guidance. Okay, I wish people to take this from it. I wish that this how they will feel. Well, how will you feel then? Well, then I feel like confident. I had a great speech. Okay, what did you do during the speech to deliver that? I talked about this topic. I was calm. I spoke with clear voice. I also was spontaneous. I spoke from my heart. Okay, what did you do before that? What did you do to be able to do that? Well, I prepared in this and this way. And this way, one important thing happens is not only we have clear steps, but it's tied to the end result. So that obviously helps even on the level of preparation. And then, well, this is not about public speaking, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I think there's the actual plan. What I'm hearing you say is there's the plan that you make, right? You make the plan. But then on top of that, and we did this even before the live today, you asked the question, I don't know exactly how you asked it, but something about what do you want what do we imagine the participants, whoever is here with us, Kevin, Shanna, what do we imagine that they walk away with? Right. Now we're not psychic, we're not mind readers, we don't know, but to take our focus off of ourselves. And also there's something about that then that brings to awareness the intention. The intention, it helps us place our attention on the intention that we want to make. And so as we sat here, we did a little, we talked about our intention of what we wanted people to walk away with, things that we hope that they would say. We imagine, we talked about, I think they'll walk away and say this. I now know how to, handle a stressful situation in a new way. We went through our plan of kind of the main topics, and then we did a little visualization. And so you can do that on your own, sitting in your chair, getting yourself, and we'll be doing a meditation here, very soon. And maybe a visualization today. So that's one real practical, concrete thing that you can do and really see yourself. I think also when we think about visualization or seeing ourselves, you don't see it like you see this cup here, exactly the color, but it's more like you're sensing, how am I holding myself? How am I carrying myself? What is my facial expressions? What are the facial expressions of the people I'm speaking with? What are the body language of them? You're kind of just sensing that situation from the visualization of how you want it to go.
Yeah, exactly. And you already earlier mentioned about that it's not about manifestation, because exactly there's nothing mystical or, well, it is really magical. Well, in some everything is, but it's not like a trick, and the visualization is not like some better trick, because we visualize all the time. If anybody who's listening has ever been concerned about what happens in the future, that's how visualization works. And I really don't, I would share it if I knew it. I don't know anything more impactful than when before going into tense, critical, difficult situation, than to already mentally prepare the new behavior. And also what we haven't mentioned is that, okay, I go on the stage, I forget what I was about to say, and then I will have this feeling, okay, that's happened. Let's like actually feel that I'm there. That's happening. What do I want to do in that situation? Breathe in, relax into the body, and compose myself and start speaking again. Because when that happens in the States, if it happens, then there's the behavior that has been programmed already. We already mentioned a bit about this. And what else would be about?
Well, and I just want to add this, and Kevin, thank you for your point, because we really do want to make this concrete. I want to share an example. Nikki, this is the workshop that I did, if you remember, when we worked together.
Yes.
And made the workshop outline for a workshop I was presenting. I worked with Nikki on my plan. And in the past, I would over plan to the point I'd over plan, I'd over practice, I'd have this, and there's nothing wrong with planning, but it becomes too much when, for me, it's almost as if I don't leave myself any room for in being in tune with the people there. And so I'm spending more time stressing about the plan than actually anticipating the positive outcome that I want for the participants. And so what Nikki and I did was we went through and did like a whole visualization. And you know, I've got great quotes on here for each section. I like from the participants, what are they going to say or think? I know this is going to help me. I can do this. I'm so excited to get started. I know who I want to connect with and what I want to say. And by doing that, when I showed up to deliver that workshop, I didn't have all these slides like I would have in the past. I really was able to show up in a way where in my head, I had spent, the couple days before mentally rehearsing section 1, this, they're going to, be excited and inspired. Section 2, this. And when it came up, because, live situations, you want to be able to move and go with the, adjust. An interview. I used the example of why I wanted to talk about this, having an interview. You're not going to know perfectly what the other person is going to say. You cannot plan that. You can't plan an interview, a conversation. You can probably plan a presentation a little bit tighter, but an interview, you can't plan that. You don't know what questions, you don't know how the flow is going to go. So by having some sort of a structure, but with those visual pieces of what you're hoping for, really, I've found has helped me immensely be able to show up more fully present in me.
You said something that I listened to everything what you're saying, and you said something that was really great when you said, of course, it's not about that now let me like program a detailed behavior for the situation. It's rather that let me prepare in the way that when I go on the stage, that I don't have to like hang on to one tool, that I'm like I will go in the situation, this is the only tool that I plan that I will use, and I'll do everything to stay with it. But actually the preparation is rather that like I'll prepare myself, but how I'm preparing myself is that I have enough mental capacity to reach out to like this toolbox full of many tools. But even more than that, I think the main preparation is never about that I need to say these words and move in this way. The main preparation is that I will do these things so that my energy, my emotional stability, and my clarity of thinking remains on top. That's, I think, the real preparation, because we are so good when we are neocortex, when we are fully there, like we have the capacities to read the room, we have the capacity to like come up with things on the spot. And to what Kevin was saying about thinking and feeling, is that I've used visualization for 14 years. So only recently I read something that I didn't know before that was really cool, I think, is that even though I use the tool even a lot with my clients, I still didn't know what exactly happened. So there's this, when we prepare for something or when we want to develop a certain quality in us, when we want to change habits, whatever it is, there's one of the tools is that get people in the situation and calm them enough down so that they can, probably Stacey, you done this with me, but then you imagine them to visualize, to feel the quality of the feeling. Let's say it's courage or clarity and calm, and really like, how does it feel? Where do you feel it? And then ask them in the visualization in embodied way to act it out. And because that connects the person with the feeling, and that kind of motivates the mammal brain for the situation. And this is so cool. What I learned is all of us who are listening to this, we know that we have this really strange capacity that we can right now imagine, how do I look in front of this computer? We can kind of like imagine ourselves. And that's like, if you think about it, like, that's quite something. But what I didn't know is that when we do that, neocortex gets activated. And if what I do always with clients is, okay, now look at yourself from outside, look at yourself in the situation. How are you moving? How are your shoulders? How is your face? How are you speaking? How are you expressing yourself? How is your body moving? What I didn't know, I knew this works because I've seen it, but what I didn't know is then neocortex and mammal brain are basically like, hey, that's a really cool behavior and it feels really good. Let's tie that together.
And that's where we make new neural pathways.
Yeah, exactly like that, fast.
Physically, and that now add the physical component of how our bodies work, because you have these neurons in your brain, and these neural pathways, are connected. And the ones that are connected are your habits, right? Think of your habits, and they automatically allow you to think. It's why you can drive your car without thinking about driving your car, and you know how to do it, or ride your bike or whatever. But what you're doing is you are building new connections. That was beautiful how you said that. And by the more we build these connections, the more you become who you want to be. A really good question I ask clients is, who will you be then? And very rare is somebody like, wait, what do you mean, who will I be then? Who will you be? And they are able to, like, I will be confident, I will be calm, I will be ready, I will be, right? And just that, who will you be, to ask yourself that question, who will I be? Who do I want to be in that speech, in that interview, in that conversation, is really powerful. And then I just want to, as we get ready to go into our visualization, our guided meditation, the reason why, I wanted to, create space for us to have a live meditation, guided meditation, is because there's something really special about a live meditation time, I think, because you've got people together sitting with an intention to better themselves. It's such a personal decision, but there's something that happens in the collective when we all set our intention to put ourselves first, give ourselves that time and space to really expand, it's almost like we're cleaning up our brain. I look at meditation as a way to, go back to the computer metaphor, defragment, clean up our brain, become more aware, and then, take that through our day. You also do a Monday meditation. So we're happy to share that with anybody. Monday mornings to get our week started. We do this here on Thursdays. So certainly invite you to drop in the comments what you're hoping to get out of today's meditation, because we are here for you and to make this community a great place to be.
I probably shouldn't add anything. That was such a good way to kind of bring things together. And I do want to still add something, because you said something so important. So I'll just expand it, because you said, who do I want to be in that situation? And there's two super impactful things that happen when we answer that question. One of the things is who affects us on the identity level, because what we think about who I am, that has the biggest impact. Like, let's say somebody has a problem with procrastination, they're working with what am I doing? But if the identity part, let's use public speaking again. How can it so difficult for me to do public speaking when I've studied it, I practiced it, still I cannot like I'm such a bad public speaker, and there it is. If you think that you're a bad public speaker, it's on the level of identity, and the identity will always fight the action if it's not fitting. If you say I'm going to give a good speech, but I don't think I'm good at it, it's like there's an inner conflict, and that's why who am I is so important question, because it affects us on the identity level, and want is so important because we make sometimes this mistake that we prepare for something, and we prepare for it from the level of past, like how I've been in the previous situation. I don't want to be like that, so my preparation is I don't want to be like that. But if we ask want, it opens the mind for possibilities that we actually necessarily didn't think about. So that's what I want to expand from what you were saying. And so now we can go into meditation, visualization, and before that, if anybody has any specifics, what we can then use in the stressful situation. I'm also reading what Camille is saying.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. That's great.
Great. We'll know what these meditations are always spontaneous. And let me just, anything else I want to. Yes, we'll do exactly what we were just talking about. So let's get in, and so we'll do a visualization around preparing for a stressful situation. So that's what you could now do, everybody who's listening, what you could now do is during this visualization, what would be the situation that most likely in the future will happen, and you would want to be well prepared mentally for it. So what's the situation where likely you might feel a bit disturbed internally? So choose that situation, because we'll use that in the visualization. And usually I explain what we are doing in the meditation. This time I explain a bit further before. So first we will what we will then do is we'll relax ourselves, not passively, not that we become passive, but that we become mentally and physically relaxed and not tired, also with a clear mind, because then we can go into visualization, because we need our neocortex for the visualization, which will be anyway activated with the visualization. And if I can now ask all of you to think of a person that you know well and you like, just bring that person into your mind, and or bring a chocolate ice cream into your mind, because all of you know how it looks. You would be able to write it. You would be able to draw it on the paper. Well, it wouldn't look very good if I would draw it, but you know what I mean. You do have the inner image, and our mental consciousness doesn't see things visually, but it sees the meaning of them. And that's why I asked, just that you have this example of you are able to describe how somebody who you love or like looks like, but you don't need to actually see them visually. So I'm saying this because sometimes in visualization, people then get like stuck. Oh, I'm not seeing it. Am I doing this wrong? Like, what am I doing now? So no need to do that. And let's go then. So first, simply become actually aware of your hips, your thighs, your stomach, your ankles, the soles of your feet, and just be aware that they might feel a bit heavy. While you are breathing in gentle and deep way, no need to force it, just in relaxed way, you can deep all the way into your stomach, and you feel as the exhalations move from your nose to your throat, to your heart, to your solar plexus, to your stomach, and all the way to your feet, and then they move back up. You can become aware of your whole stomach and lower back, and notice if there's any tension. And if there's any tension, tense it even more. So what we can now do, we can actually do something maybe unexpected. We can tense our whole body. So all the way from our feet, our toes, our thighs, our hips, our stomach, our chest, upper back, shoulders, even face, hands, all the muscles in the hands, face, ears, everything just fully tense. I will look really stupid when I do it, but just tense your whole body. Your whole body just tense, like as tense as you can get. Every muscle, stomach, a little bit, just a little bit more. Your toes, make a fist with your hands, shoulders, neck, and then you can let go and just become aware of your body. It's maybe counterintuitive, but really good way to relax our bodies, to tense it first, because then we have the control of the muscles and we can relax into becoming aware that the room around us is slowly disappearing, it's dissolving. It's the floor, the ceiling, the walls, everything in the room is becoming lighter, turning into light particles, and even the small particles just return back to the space. And however you sense it or feel it, allow the whole room, even the whole apartment or home or building block, to just dissolve. Everything from around you. Allow even the whole city you are in to dissolve from your left side, from your right side, from in front of you, from behind you. And now even the sky above you, far above you, the sky that you can sense through the top of your head is dissolving, disappearing. Even the whole planet below you, the whole sphere, all the way to the core of the planet that you can sense through your spine, through your feet. The planet below you is starting to dissolve into light, into particles, and it just simply gently dissolves into space. And so does your body. Like rainbow starts disappearing when the sun comes up and the rain ends, your body will simply fade away. And you are now aware of all directions, the spaces below, above, left, right, front, back. Just rest in the quietness. Whatever thoughts about past, about present, about future come to your mind, you can be aware of them. They can be there. Thoughts are simply their play of the mind. They're just appearing and disappearing. Some of the thoughts weren't there 5 seconds ago and won't be there 5 seconds from now. So everything can just be, and now you can appear in a place where you feel relaxed, safe, secure. Maybe it's a beach, maybe it's in a forest, and you are at the moment alone there. Maybe it's top of the mountain, just wherever you feel like would be great and relaxing to appear. And you have your body with you. Maybe there's sun in your face, nice breeze around your body. And now a bit further, maybe 10 meters away from you, 30 feet in front of you, there's that event. There's that event where you want to be at your best, where you want to behave and perform, act the way you want. And now you can just know that that event is there. And now you can become very aware of your body and what is this quality or emotion that you deeply want to bring into that situation, that event. When I talk about qualities or emotions, they can be courage, calm, clarity, peace, love, joy, can be all of those. What is the most important emotion quality that you truly want to bring into this event, into this situation? And if now your mind is coming up with an explanation, I want to have this feeling of being in control or whatever it is, just find out what is the feeling, what is the emotion, what is the quality you want to live from in the event. Where is it in your body? Where's the core of it? Where's the core? Where's the seed? Where's the root of that quality and that emotion? Where in your body can you find it? Is it in your heart? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your throat? Is it already so present that it's in your whole body? Wherever it is, wherever you can feel even sparkle or hint of that emotional quality, if you want, you can put your hands there, you can breathe into that area so that the awareness can kind of activate it, that it can breathe into some energy into that emotion. If you find it difficult to find it, think about what is the last emotion that you would want to bring, what is you don't want to bring, and what's the opposite of that. If you have difficulty in finding, how does it now? No need to explain it to yourself. Like, how does it feel? Just like really get into the feeling of that. And now, as you feel it, now from this emotion, how would you just imagine how would it feel? You don't need to walk towards the event. Just imagine that you are now walking around where you are there. How are you? How does it feel to walk from that emotion? How are your shoulders moving? How are your feet moving? How are your hips moving? How does it feel to move from this quality and emotion? Just move there, feel the feeling. And now you can stop. And now watch yourself from outside. You can watch yourself from outside. How is that you who's fully living from this emotion and quality? How is he or she moving? How are they moving? What can you notice in their shoulders? How are their shoulders moving? When you are fully living from that quality, watching yourself from outside, what can you see? How are your hands moving? What is the quality of your step? How are your feet moving? What's the theme? What's the quality? Whatever comes to your mind, colors, symbols, specific words. And the you who's fully living from this emotion, how is he or she? What can you see in their face? How are their lips? How are their facial muscles? What can you see in the eyes? Now, as you look at that you who's fully living from this emotion, what's going on inside them? What's their mindset? What are they thinking? What are they telling to themselves? And now return back to your body. Just fully embody your body. Remember the feeling. Where's the core of it? Where's the root? Where's the seed of it? And feel it. And now all the things you just saw, all the things you just felt, when you really look at the core of this emotion and quality, like what's there? What are you from this quality? When you live from this quality, what are you telling yourself? Who are you when you live from this quality? And now remain embodied in this feeling, remain in this feeling, breathe well, and now walk to the event. Whatever it is, public speech, talking with somebody, whatever it is, how you can see it, it's just walk right in front of it, this event in time that will happen, the event that you want to be prepared for mentally, where you want to live from this emotion and this quality. What is, as you are right in front of that moment, that event, maybe like 1 meter, 3 feet away from it, who do you want to be when you go into that situation? From this quality, like who will you be in that situation? From this quality, from this emotion, how will you speak? How will you move? How will you engage and connect with others if there's others involved? And why is that important? Why is it important to be in such way, in that way, in the situation? And now watch yourself to enter. You are entering now the event, but you're watching it from outside. That you who's fully living from that quality, who knows why she or he is going into that situation, how to behave, how to be from that quality, what can you see in yourself? How is that you who's fully living from this emotion in that event, in that situation, how is he or she behaving? How is she expressing? How is he walking, moving? How does that person engage with others? And I don't know what for you the event or situation is. Now for a while, just watch that moment unfold when you're fully living from the emotion and knowing who you are and what is important to you. Just watch it unfold. What are some of the best things that are happening? What are the best things you are doing? What are you saying? How are you moving? What's going on inside you? What's the mentality? What's the emotion? And now this time, before the event or situation comes to the end, now go into the body. See yourself in that situation. Be in the body. How will it feel in the moment? How will it look like? How it will feel like to express yourself, to move, to be in that situation? How will you feel in your body, and what exactly and where are you feeling it? Why was it important for others? What did others gain from it? Gain might not be the right word. How did it benefit others? Now imagine the event is slowly coming to an end. It went the absolute best possible way. You live from that emotion, live from that quality. Now 1 minute has passed since that event, and now you are alone. You're alone, not alone, you are alone. The situation, the event, you handled it exactly how you wanted. What do you want to thank yourself for? Go deep into yourself, feel your body, and what would be the most genuine, most heartfelt, what would be the absolutely deepest thing you could tell to yourself as you handled the situation, as you performed the way you wanted, as you did your best. What do you now know to be true about yourself? Just a little bit more. Now, when you are ready, you can walk forward wherever you are. And the event is now a week behind you. It's happened a week ago. It's there already 7 days behind you. How do you now feel? What kind of seed was that event? What kind of seed? What kind of new opening? What do you now know more about yourself? What are you now more able to do? What do you trust now more about yourself as a week ago you handled yourself the way you wanted in that event, in that situation? Now going even further, and as we are coming to the end of this visualization, a year passes. A year has passed, and now you are looking at that you who is fully embodying and living from this quality, from this emotion, from this value, whatever it is. You are looking at that version of you from outside. What's the difference? What has happened? What is the difference between the you here today and the you who's there 1 year from now, who fully lived from this quality, from this emotion, from this value? What is different in her or him? And as you still keep your eyes closed, you are now back in your body, in front of, you are in the room, and this you who went through it already, who lived from this emotion, who has already lived year beyond where you are now. What would that you, what would that part, that version of you, what would that part of you tell to the present you right now? What would the future you from a year from now, who lived from this emotion, who went through the situation, handled it well, what would that version of you tell to the present day version? And then when you are ready, you can open your eyes, and those who are still here, allow yourself to know that the, whatever you experienced or whatever the future self said, that is not the unusual. That is not something that is brought from the future, but that is already in you. But it's just those things are buried in our usual ways of thinking and patterns, and through meditation and visualization like that, things that are already in us can come to the surface more. So whatever you experience, whatever the future self that is not anywhere else but here, whatever it said to you, whatever you experience, it the best thing you can know that those are you. Those are not something special that happened and now you are here back to normal. It's that those things are normal to you. So hopefully that was useful. Thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you back here again next week.
Thursday. Yes.
Ask any questions if you want to connect with Nikki or I. We're happy
Yes,
to connect with
LinkedIn.
you and answer any questions, help you in any way that we can.
Yes.
So